Big 127-102 win for the Celtics. And by the way, Max Strus is just fine. His ankles aren't actually really broken. Boston dominated the Heat, earning their 5th road win by 25 or more points in the postseason in franchise history. And it was their largest road win in the conference finals or later. But the C's did go on to lose the series after 2 of those previous 4 wins. That's the history. This Celtics team, though, looks amazing. So, guys, Seth, let me ask a binary question here. Was this outcome more about good Celtics or bad Heat?
I think it was good Celtics. I mean, look, it's somewhere in between, but it is good Celtics. Celtics are a tough matchup right now. When the Celtics are healthy, and you've got Marcus Smart, an elite defender that could facilitate, takes pressure off of Tatum. When you have Al Horford, who could stretch the defense, and then you have a 7-man rotation where the pieces fit, along with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are matchup nightmares for the Heat. To me, it's more about the Celtics, and now that P.J. Tucker might be out, it's really about the Celtics.
That's key. And then, Legs, what did you make of how the Heat played in this game? I mean, they looked so good in that second half in Game 1. This was a different story.
Totally different story, and I think what it comes down to is that Miami could not guard them in the first half. And Boston came out laser-focused, very professional approach to how they came into this game. I love the fact that during that first game in the third quarter, I loved that Ime Udoka called timeout, got in everybody's face as they were coming off the floor, because that told me he was going to also do that in the film session after the game because of how bad that third quarter was in Game 1. And they respond to him. So he's able to get into them a little bit and challenge them, and you saw the response. So this was much more about Boston. Clearly, Miami has a couple guys that haven't played their best yet in Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo, and they're going to need that. But this is more about Boston's versatility, their depth, their shot making, their defensive versatility. This was about the Celtics making a statement that they were not satisfied with losing Game 1 when they felt they outplayed them for most of that game.
Yeah, great point. And you mentioned Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro and those guys. And Amar'e, we were talking about this on the break. What surprised you most about the Heat here, and especially Bam Adebayo?
Well, that's my thing. I think Bam Adebayo is, he's a guy that can be a difference maker, right? I mean, he was in argumentative conversations about being one of the best defensive players in the league for a while, for a few years. He's a potential all-star kind of guy.
Said he should have won Defensive Player of the Year.
Right, exactly. And so that's what I'm saying. So he has the most potential in this space in order to affect the game in a positive way. But we need him to be more assertive, right? We need to give him the ball more. We need him to be more efficient in the paint. I mean, 6 shots, 6 points. He does all the intangibles as well. He rebounds the ball. He makes sure the ball moves on the perimeter from going side to side. Right. So he's our guy. He's my guy. I think that if he steps up big time in Game 2, he'll get the Heat a better chance.
So you didn't see enough urgency from him?
I didn't see it. And that's something I wanted to see more. It's a concern for me because in the playoff game like this and this magnitude at home, you would want your star player to be more dominant in that game.
Do they need to play through him more, though? I mean, I understand he can rebound the ball, he can bust it out in transition. He's got to get to the offensive glass. Bigs can get the ball because they can just chase it on the glass and get second chances.
Yep.
Do they need to find a way, especially now, maybe with Tucker out, to play through him more?
Absolutely. You got to find a way to make him assertive in the post. And I think if he finds a way to establish his positioning and they can get the ball to him easily, then now he can be assertive in the offense.
Says the man who was assertive in the post his entire career. So, Legs, we talk about Bam Adebayo, but then there's Jimmy Butler, and he had 29 points. I can't believe I'm asking you this question, but did he do enough in this game as the team's number 1?
Yeah, listen, he doesn't have an answer for everything. At some point, you're going to need some guys to come along. When you host a party, you can't be the only guy there. You got to have some other people show up. And I think right now, all right, Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo, I think Amar'e's point is fantastic about Bam. I think for me, and you were hearing some chatter, and it's not necessarily coming from the Heat, but you're hearing chatter like, oh, well, Bam's not getting enough touches. I was told early on when I started playing basketball, there is no excuse for a great player in terms of not getting the ball. The ball finds you if you're doing something with it. He needs to be more assertive and send a message to his team that he is here tonight offensively. Now, one of the things that's hurting him, there's a lot of switching that goes on with Boston because they've got so much versatility and size that he's not getting those situations where there's traps on the ball handler and then he slips middle, catches it, and makes plays out of that. That's when he's at his best. Boston is taking that away with all the switches. So now Eric Spoelstra has to figure out a way to target him with specific set designs early in the game to get him some shots so that he feels a part of what's going on offensively, because he's really played like a role player on that end, and he's far better than that.
He's got to create the switch he wants. Basically, you look for Spo in Game 3 to create the matchup he wants off of those screens.
Yeah, he is a star.
The one he wants to attack. What player is his best advantage where they can get him the ball where he wants him?
He's a star right there along with Butler. They need him to step up, is what you guys are saying, and they'll need him to step up big time to stay in this one.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.